She had $37 to her name. He had $37 billion. When she found his wallet on that cold November morning, she made a choice that would shock everyone who knew her. But what happened 3 days later? That's when things got really crazy. Because what the billionaire did in return, nobody saw it coming. This is a true story about how one honest decision created a chain reaction that changed not just 2 lives, but an entire community. Meet Sarah Chen, a 32-year-old single mother living in downtown Seattle. Sarah's life wasn't easy. She worked 2 jobs, one as a waitress at a local diner during the day and another cleaning offices at night. Despite working nearly 16 hours a day, Sarah could barely make ends meet. Her daughter, Emma, was 7 years old and the light of Sarah's life. Every sacrifice Sarah made was for Emma's future. She dreamed of sending her daughter to a good school, maybe even college one day. Though with her current financial situation, that dream seemed impossibly far away. Sarah lived paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes not even that. There were nights when she went to bed hungry so Emma could have seconds at dinner. There were winters when she wore 3 layers of clothing indoors to save on heating bills. Her apartment was a tiny 1-bedroom in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Emma slept on the bed while Sarah made do with a worn-out couch. But Sarah never complained. She held her head high, worked hard, and taught Emma the values her own mother had taught her: honesty, kindness, and the belief that character matters more than money. It was a cold Tuesday morning in November when Sarah's life took an unexpected turn. She had just finished her night shift at the office building downtown and was walking to catch the early bus home. The streets were nearly empty, with only a few early morning joggers and the occasional taxi passing by. Sarah pulled her thin jacket tighter against the biting wind. She was exhausted. Her feet ached, her back hurt, and all she could think about was getting home to see Emma before she left for school. Sarah's neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, watched Emma in the mornings, a kindness Sarah could never fully repay. As she walked past a luxury hotel, something on the ground caught her eye. There, lying on the sidewalk near the valet stand, was a black leather wallet. It looked expensive, the kind of wallet Sarah had only seen in store windows she couldn't afford to enter. She looked around. The street was empty. The valet stand was closed. No one was in sight. Sarah bent down and picked up the wallet. Her hands trembled slightly, and not just from the cold. She knew she should open it, try to find some identification, figure out who it belonged to. But part of her was afraid of what she might find inside. She took a deep breath and opened it. What she saw made her gasp. The wallet was stuffed with cash. $100 bills, at least 50 of them, maybe more. Sarah's mind raced, trying to calculate. $5,000? $6,000? More than she made in 3 months of working both jobs. Her first thought was Emma. With this money, she could pay the rent for the next 6 months. She could buy Emma new shoes, the ones she needed, not the second-hand ones from the thrift store. She could fix the heating in their apartment, maybe even take a day off, just one day to rest. Her hand closed around the wallet, and for a moment, just a moment, she considered, it. But then she thought about what she would tell Emma. How could she teach her daughter about honesty and doing the right thing if she didn't? Live by those values herself? How could she look Emma in the eyes? Sarah's mother used to say, integrity is what you do when nobody's watching. Right now, nobody was watching. But Sarah was watching herself. She looked through the wallet more carefully. Behind the cash, she found several credit cards, all with the same name, Alexander James Rothschild. There was also a business card identifying him as the CEO of Rothschild Industries, a driver's license, and a membership card to an exclusive club Sarah had only read about in magazines. She pulled out her phone, an old model with a cracked screen, and searched for Rothschild Industries. Her eyes widened as she read the results. Alexander Rothschild wasn't just wealthy. He was one of the richest men in America, with a net worth estimated at $37 billion. His company was a massive conglomerate with interests in technology, real estate, and renewable energy. Sarah stared at the wallet in her hands, then at her phone screen showing Alexander Rothschild's photo. a handsome man in his early 40s with sharp features and intense eyes. She felt dizzy. This wasn't just any wallet. This belonged to someone who probably spent more on lunch than she made in a month. But that didn't matter. Wrong was wrong, and right was right. Sarah found the phone number for Rothschild Industries headquarters and called. After navigating through several automated menus and waiting on hold for 15 minutes, she finally reached a real person, a receptionist who sounded skeptical. "I found Alexander Rothschild's wallet," Sarah said simply. There was a pause. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" "I found a wallet belonging to Alexander Rothschild. It has his ID, credit cards, and cash. I'd like to return it." "I see. And where are you located?" Sarah gave her location and contact information. The receptionist said someone would call her back shortly. Sarah hung up, clutched the wallet, and hurried to catch her bus. She was already running late, and Mrs. Rodriguez would need to leave for her own job soon. 3 hours later, after Sarah had gotten home, spent precious time with Emma before school, and was trying to catch a few hours of sleep before her afternoon shift at the diner, her phone rang. It was a man who identified himself as Marcus, Alexander Rothschild's personal assistant. His voice was professional but warm. "Miss Chen, I understand you found Mr. Rothschild's wallet." "Yes, that's right. Mr. Rothschild is extremely grateful. He's been looking for it. Would you be available to meet him this afternoon to return it? He'd like to thank you personally." Sarah hesitated. She had to work her shift at the diner at 2 o'clock. Missing it would cost her a day's wages she couldn't afford to lose. "I work this afternoon," she said quietly, "but I can drop it off at your office if that helps. Mr. Rothschild would really appreciate meeting you in person. It would only take a few minutes. What if we came to you? Where do you work?" Sarah gave him the address of Mel's diner, feeling embarrassed. What would a billionaire think coming to a place like that? "Perfect. Mr. Rothschild will be there at 2:30. Thank you again, Miss Chen. You've done an incredibly kind thing." When Sarah arrived at the diner for her shift, she told her manager Tony what was happening. Tony, a gruff man in his 60s who'd owned the diner for 30 years, raised his eyebrows. "Alexander Rothschild? The Alexander Rothschild? Coming here?" "I guess so," Sarah said nervously. "Well, I'll be damned. You're full of surprises, Sarah." At exactly 2:30, a sleek black car pulled up outside the diner. Through the window, Sarah watched as a tall man in an expensive suit stepped out, followed by another man carrying a briefcase. Alexander Rothschild looked just like his pictures, but somehow more imposing in person. He had an air of confidence that came from years of making billion-dollar decisions. Yet when he walked into the diner and his eyes met Sarah's, his expression was surprisingly warm. "Ms. Chen?" he asked, approaching her. "Yes, Mr. Rothschild." Sarah wiped her hands on her apron nervously and pulled his wallet from her purse. "I believe this belongs to you." Alexander took the wallet, opened it, and quickly checked its contents. Everything was there, the cash, the cards, everything. He looked at Sarah with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You didn't take anything?" "No, sir. It's all there. Ms. Chen, do you mind if I ask you a question?" "Of course not. Why did you return it?" Sarah was taken aback, because it wasn't mine, but there's a lot of money in here. And I'm guessing... He glanced around the diner, taking in her uniform, her worn shoes. "You could probably use it." Sarah felt her cheeks flush. "That's not how I was raised, Mr. Rothschild. My mother always said that who you are is defined by what you do when nobody's watching. That wallet belonged to you. It was the right thing to do." Alexander was quiet for a moment, studying her face. Then he smiled. A genuine smile that transformed his entire appearance. "Marcus," he said to his assistant, "write Ms. Chen a check for $10,000 as a reward." Sarah's eyes went wide. No, that's not necessary. I don't want a reward. I just wanted to return your property. Please, I insist. Mr. Rothschild, I appreciate it, but no, I didn't do this for money. If I'd wanted money, I would have kept what was in the wallet. I did it because it was right." Alexander exchanged a glance with Marcus. Both men looked surprised. "Ms. Chen, you're turning down $10,000? "Yes, sir. Thank you, but yes." Alexander studied her for a long moment. "You know what? That makes me want to help you even more. Please, at least let me buy you a coffee. I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes if you have time. Sarah looked at Tony, who nodded enthusiastically. Take a break, Sarah. Take all the time you need. Sarah and Alexander sat in a corner booth. She ordered a coffee. He ordered the same. For the next hour, they talked. Alexander asked about her life, and Sarah, usually so private, found herself opening up. She told him about Emma, about working 2 jobs, about her dreams for her daughter's future. Alexander listened intently, asking questions, really paying attention. Sarah couldn't remember the last time someone had listened to her like this, like her words actually mattered. Finally, Alexander leaned back and said, Ms. Chen, Sarah, if I may, I meet a lot of people in my line of work. Most of them want something from me. But you're different. You have something I've been looking for in people for years. What's that? Integrity. Real, genuine integrity. And that's rarer than you might think, especially in my world. He paused. I'd like to offer you a job. Sarah blinked. I'm sorry, what? A job at Rothschild Industries. We need people with character, people we can trust. I have a position opening up in our community outreach division. It would mean working normal hours, good pay, full benefits. You'd be able to spend more time with your daughter. Sarah felt tears welling up in her eyes. Mr. Rothschild, I don't have a college degree. I never finished. I don't care about degrees right now. I care about character. You've just proven yours. The rest we can train. What do you say? Sarah couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face. But Alexander wasn't done. One more thing. I want to set up an education fund for Emma. Full scholarship from now through college. Whatever school she wants, whatever she needs to succeed. Now Sarah was really crying. Why? She managed to ask. Why would you do all this? Alexander's expression grew serious. Do you know why that wallet was so important to me? It wasn't because of the cash. I can make that back in seconds. It was because inside that wallet was a picture of my daughter. She passed away 3 years ago. Leukemia. She was 7 years old. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. That picture is the last one I have where she's smiling, really smiling. It was taken a week before she got sick. If I'd lost that wallet, if someone had just thrown it away or kept it... His voice cracked slightly. That photograph is priceless to me. You gave me back something I can never replace. I'm so sorry, Sarah whispered. Emma, Alexander said. Your daughter. That's what my daughter's name was, too. They sat in silence for a moment, 2 parents connected by love and loss and a twist of fate. You gave me back my Emma's smile, Alexander said softly. Let me help you give your Emma her dreams. 3 days later, Sarah started her new job. The position came with a salary that was triple what she'd been making at both her old jobs combined. For the first time in years, she could breathe. She could pay bills on time. She could buy Emma new clothes. They moved to a better apartment in a safer neighborhood, but the story doesn't end there. Sarah discovered she was actually good at her new job. Really good. Her role in community outreach involved connecting Rothschild Industries with local organizations that needed support. Having been poor herself, Sarah understood these communities in a way that no one else in the office could. She knew which programs actually helped people, and which ones just looked good on paper. Within 6 months, Sarah had revolutionized the company's giving strategy. The programs she recommended made real differences in people's lives. Alexander was impressed, and he promoted her to director of the division. But Sarah never forgot where she came from. She created a program called Second Chances, which provided job training and placement for people in situations like hers. Single parents, people without degrees, anyone who just needed an opportunity. She partnered with local diners and small businesses, creating a network of opportunities. The diner where Sarah used to work, Mel's Diner, became one of the program's partner locations. Tony hired 3 single mothers through the program, and business actually improved because of the great service they provided. Emma thrived in her new school. She joined the soccer team, made friends, and developed a love for mathematics. She told Sarah she wanted to be an engineer when she grew up. With the education fund Alexander had set up, that dream was actually possible. 2 years after finding the wallet, Sarah was invited to speak at a conference about corporate social responsibility. She told her story, all of it. The struggle, the wallet, the choice she'd made, and how that choice had changed everything. After her speech, dozens of people came up to her. Some were crying. Many told her she'd inspired them. 3 major companies reached out, wanting to create similar programs to Sarah's Second Chances initiative. One evening, Alexander called her into his office. "Sarah, I have something to show you." He pulled up a report on his computer. "Do you remember that first program you recommended? The after-school tutoring initiative in South Seattle? Of course. The graduation rate in that district has increased by 23% since we started funding it. 23%. That's hundreds of kids who are going to have better futures." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "That's incredible. You did that. Your instinct, your understanding, your heart. You've touched more lives than you know." He paused. "My daughter Emma, she used to say she wanted to help people when she grew up. I think she'd be proud of what we're doing. What you're doing." "I think she would be too," Sarah said softly. The following month, Alexander announced that Rothschild Industries was launching a nationwide initiative called the Emma Fund, named after both Emmas, his daughter and Sarah's. The fund would provide education scholarships and job training to single parents across the country. Sarah would lead the program. The announcement made national news. Journalists wanted to interview Sarah to know her story. She was hesitant at first, but Alexander encouraged her. "Your story matters," he said. "It reminds people that integrity still exists, that doing the right thing still matters. In a world that can seem so cynical, that's a message people need to hear." So Sarah told her story, again and again, and something remarkable happened. Other people started coming forward with their own stories of honesty, of returning lost items, of choosing right over easy. It became a movement of sorts, a reminder that goodness still existed. One of the most touching moments came when Sarah received a letter from a teenager in Ohio. The girl wrote, "I found a wallet last week with $200 in it. I was going to keep it because my family needs the money. But then I saw your story. I thought about what you did and I returned the wallet. The man who owned it cried when I gave it back. He said it had his late wife's wedding ring in it, and he thought it was lost forever. Thank you for showing me that doing the right thing is always worth it. You changed my life without even knowing me." Sarah kept that letter on her desk. On hard days, when she felt overwhelmed or tired, she read it and remembered why her choice had mattered. Emma, Sarah's daughter, grew up watching her mother help others. She saw firsthand how one honest decision had created ripples that spread far beyond what anyone could have imagined. The lessons she learned weren't from lectures or rules, but from watching her mother live with integrity every single day. 5 years after finding the wallet, Sarah was featured on the cover of Forbes magazine with the headline, "From Waitress to Executive, How One Honest Act Changed Everything." The article detailed not just Sarah's journey, but the impact of the Emma Fund, which had now helped over 10,000 families across America. At the photo shoot, the photographer asked Sarah to hold up a prop, a wallet. She laughed. "You know what? I still have the original one." She'd kept it all these years with Alexander's permission. It sat on her office shelf, a reminder of the day her life changed. But if you asked Sarah, she'd tell you her life didn't change because she found a wallet. It changed because she'd already decided, long before that November morning, what kind of person she wanted to be. The wallet was just the test. She'd been preparing for it her whole life. Alexander and Sarah remained close friends. He became a mentor to her, and in some ways, she became one to him. She reminded him of his humanity, of the importance of connection and compassion. He provided her with opportunities she'd never dreamed possible. On what would have been his daughter's 13th birthday, Alexander invited Sarah and her Emma to a private memorial. Together, they planted a tree in his daughter's memory, and Alexander shared stories about her. Her laugh, her kindness, her dreams, you know, he said as they stood by the young tree. "I used to be angry. Angry that I had all this money and I couldn't save her. Angry at the unfairness of it all. But meeting you, Sarah, seeing what you've built, the lives you've changed, I think my Emma would have liked your Emma very much. And I think she'd be happy that her name is helping so many people. Sarah's Emma, now 12 and growing into a thoughtful young woman, spoke up. Mr. Rothschild, my mom says that your Emma is like a guardian angel for us, that she brought you two together. Alexander smiled through his tears. I think your mom might be right. Today, Sarah Chen is the Chief Impact Officer at Rothschild Industries, one of the highest-ranking positions in the company. She oversees all philanthropic initiatives and is widely respected in the business world, but she still remembers what it was like to count pennies and go to bed hungry. She still drives through her old neighborhood sometimes, past the apartment where she and Emma used to live, past Mel's diner where she used to work. Not to remember the hardship, but to remember the person she was, honest, hardworking, determined, and to make sure she never loses that part of herself. The Emma Fund has now helped over 50,000 families. It's expanded beyond education and job training to include housing assistance, healthcare support, and small business grants. Every person who receives help is told the story of how it all started, with one woman who found a wallet and made a choice. And that's the real lesson of this story. Sarah didn't do anything extraordinary. She didn't save anyone from a burning building or solve world hunger. She simply did the right thing when it would have been easier to do the wrong thing. She chose character over cash, integrity over immediate need. That one choice, made on a cold November morning when no one was watching, created a ripple effect that changed thousands of lives. It proved that doing the right thing matters, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because here's the truth. You never know when your integrity is being tested. You never know when a simple choice might be the thing that changes everything. Sarah certainly didn't know that returning a wallet would transform her life and the lives of countless others. But she made the right choice anyway. Not because she knew it would pay off, but because it was who she was, and in the end, that's what this story is really about. Not about a wallet or money, or even the incredible turn of events that followed. It's about the fact that character matters. That integrity isn't just important when people are watching. It's important because of who you are when they're not. Sarah Chen could have kept that wallet. She could have taken that money and walked away, and no one would have ever known. But she would have known, and that made all the difference. So the next time you face a choice between what's easy and what's right, remember Sarah. Remember that your character is being written in these small moments. Remember that integrity isn't just about big decisions. It's about all the little ones too. Because you never know. That next choice you make, it might just be the one that changes everything. And that's the incredible true story of Sarah Chen, the woman who picked up a billionaire's wallet, returned it, and changed not just her own life, but thousands of others. If this story inspired you, if it reminded you that honesty and integrity still matter in this world, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Because the world needs more people like Sarah Chen. And maybe, just maybe, that person could be you.